We've come to GA Sliding Head in Dundee to find out what they can produce with 26 sliding head Star machines. Welcome to Swarf and Chips. We're here at GA Sliding Head in Dundee, and this company's been going for about 30 years. They've got 26 Star machines. It's absolutely amazing the amount of sliding head expertise within these four walls. Now, we start, as with many sliding head shops, at the material rack, which is obviously beautifully organised as expected, all colour-coded. And I mean, I asked one of the technicians earlier whether colour coding was to do with diameter or material. It's not. They have a software system that handles organisation of all the material, and the software will say, okay, we've got 25mm bar, it's made out of, I don't know, it's beryllium copper, but it's got a yellow code. So you go in, it looks something to it looks like a bit like beryllium copper, looks like it's 25mm, it's yellow, that's it, that's the material I need. And this brings me on to, obviously, Interco, our main sponsors. Thank you very much, Les. Interco have got £17 million worth of special steels and alloys in Cheltenham, which are ready for next day delivery. So if you need any material, check out Interco for your special steels and alloys. And also, don't forget to like and subscribe on the MTD channel to watch more Swarf and Chips. Now, material is a massive thing at sliding heads. Sometimes in standard machine shops, you'll see square parts, square material, round material, and loads of different bits of material rack. But the nice thing about sliding head shops is, because it's all round, it's all pretty much 2 metre, 3 metre, actually mostly 3 metre actually, you can fit everything you need in such a small space, which must be an absolute godsend when unit sizes are definitely at a premium. Right, I'm going to go over and talk to Logan on, I think it's an SR-10. We're going to have a quick look, talk about small part manufacture and inspection. And here we go, Logan. We're here at the SR-10. Now, you've got a bank of these at GA Sliding Head, amongst many machines, but these are absolutely tiny machines. What max diameter can they make?
We could go up from 3mm, 0 to basically 8mm in diameter. All different size bores. We drill up from maybe 0.4 up to 1mm drills as well. So yeah, really small stuff. Yeah,
you wouldn't imagine that there'd be a machine dedicated to such small diameters, would you? But there's actually a lot of parts that still fit in that range. Can we have a quick look at some of the parts here and tell us what they are, what kind of operations you have to do on them?
Of course. So this is a simple drawing here. It's quite a simple part, but there's a lot of turning. There's boring at the back. We could sometimes mill out if it's too much for the tool to handle. So it is quite a simple part. But there's a lot of operations to that.
And here's the actual part here, which looks a hell of a lot smaller than the drawings are to a good scale size, but you can see the part itself is absolutely tiny.
It's so hard to inspect, and like I said earlier, it's so hard to inspect.
So when you make a lot of these, what kind of volumes are we talking?
Talking between 400 to 1,000.
Okay, so 400,000. And do you have to inspect every single one of them?
No, not at all. We do it in batches of one every 25, one every 35 components, and use our measuring equipment that we've got down in the facility that we've got, yeah. Okay,
so we're going to have a look at the vision equipment later in the video, but it's all about inspecting in batches, because you can't do every single one of these. But one thing that you guys, I guess, invest in with Star is the fact that you can run parts, you don't have to inspect every single one.
Exactly. The machines are very, very good at repeatability, so they're constantly turning out machine parts to the nearest thou or tenths even. Yeah, very reliable.
And you see you've got 418 being made here. Is that the 470? Is that the max? Is that when it stops and you go and inspect?
Yeah, so once it gets to that level, it hits 470. We then come over, check the next one off, and bump up another 35 or 40. And that's the total we've made today so far. So they do churn out quite a lot of components every day.
So I guess if you've got this making another 50 ready for inspection after that, then you can have someone running maybe 2 or 3 machines?
Correct, yeah, that's right. And we try and share it amongst the people that work here, yeah.
Brilliant. Okay, so we're gonna let's move on. Thank you very much, Logan. We appreciate that. We're going to move on from the small Star cell, and I'm going to have a look at some of the bigger machines. And moving on to the bigger parts in the machine shop, we're not talking about 8mm now. We're talking SR-20. This can do much larger diameters, and they've got a lot of these machines. I'm trying to find Sean here, and he's left me to it. He's gone over there. Sean, come over, Sean. We need you. So Sean has been working at GA Sliding Head for 11 years, same as Logan. Hello, Sean. You tried to get rid of me there, didn't you? Sorry. So I was just saying to our audience that you've been working at GA Sliding Head for 11 years with Logan. You guys, did you start on the same day?
Yeah, exact same day we started. Yeah. So when we first got together, we got teamed together. And then at that time, I kind of done the exact same things. We were doing the collets together, all the guide bushes and all that kind of stuff.
So you started off as an apprentice here at GA.
Yeah.
What machine were you running?
It was the SR-1620, which we spoke about before, yeah. So yeah, that was pretty good.
And what was it like to run? How old was it?
It was the oldest machine in here at the time. It was 1989, I think it was.
1989, so it's
yeah.
been around a bit longer than we have.
It's older than me, so.
Yeah, I'm going to say it's older than me as well, I'm going to say.
So but we've started, and since then, obviously, the machines have got so much better. So,
what do you think has changed specifically? Talking about, for example, the SR-20, how is that different to the old SR-1620 built in 1989?
There's a lot of stuff, like the drilling stations are a bit different. It used to be like it's a piston sleeve that came out, they used to do it. But now it's a static drilling sleeve that we have. That's mostly the big change from them, really, but obviously it's more advanced now, really.
Have they become more general and modular so you can mix and match all the little adapters and bits and pieces?
Definitely. They're so much more advanced than what they used to be.
That's one thing. I've not got much experience in sliding head, I'm ashamed to admit. And there's quite a lot of little adapters and components that you can buy third party or make yourself or buy from the manufacturers themselves. It almost seems like it's kind of like a Lego kit to build your own machine.
Well, we actually do make parts as well that we can make 2 or 3 parts to them and connect them ourselves and send them to the customer. So we do that as well. I know a lot of people in this industry do that a lot. I've seen parts that are like 4 or 5 parts together, but we do 2 or 3 that get sent to the customer.
Brilliant. So let's talk about the parts that you make as well now. You guys do you work in every kind of material that I've heard of. You guys do Inconel, titanium.
So we do stainless steels, UNS, copper, beryllium copper, peak. That's a hard one to machine. That's so swarthy and it's
I bet it just strings around.
So soft, and you just can't cut really well with it at all. So that's one of the hardest one we do cut, purely for swarf, because you can't pick up on it that much. So sometimes you have to man that kind of machine, so you'll have to get your air hose on it, blow the swarf away, pick it up. So if a big quantity comes in, a peak, we're not really happy with that.
No, you're not happy, but you still got to do it, right?
Yeah, you got to do it, yeah.
But it's because you've had your head stuck in sliding head machines for 11 years. If you come around here, Sean, for 11 years, I guess you just know how it works. Let's talk. So you got some shadowgraphs on the shop floor here.
That's our new shadowgraphs. We got them about 4 weeks ago. So I've got shadowgraphs in there, 2 of them brand new. We've got one done in the inspection area. We've also got 2 sets of drop clocks there. So that'll check our depths, the bore depths and stuff like that.
Can they go in really tight bores?
Most of them, yeah, most of them are quite tight. Yeah, they can.
Because remember you had like a 1.2 drill that had a 5 times D or something, was it?
Yeah, it was 6 times D or sometimes D, yeah. So we wouldn't check it with any of them tools there. That would just be a gauge, like a kind of pin gauge we'd do that with.
And so when we looked at the SR-10 and it was on like a preset count, and once that counter hits another 50 parts, that's when someone goes, takes one out of the bucket and goes and puts it in the shadowgraph.
Yeah, so it depends what it is. You would either check your vena, your mic. If it's a bore depth, you go and check your drop clock inside there. If it's an outside diameter or a length, you check your shadowgraph.
Okay. How do they know? I'm just thinking if it drops into a bucket, how do you know which one was the last part that came off it?
Well, usually it stays onside the belt, so that's what we know. So when it goes off on the belt, the bully belt that we'll have, there's a one component sitting there.
You guys are doing it all right. Okay, and so also quite a lot of the sliding head shops. These applications are oil and gas, aerospace.
Yeah, medical as well, stuff like that. It's mostly oil and gas we do here, really.
And so because they're quite controlled environments, you need what Ian's looking at right now, a part washer. Now, so what does this do?
So that's quite new as well. So what we do with that is there's things there, right? It has cycle times. So it's like machines really. So if you want to clean longer, you'll put it in longer cycle times. So it could be 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 6 minutes, some are 20 minutes for the parts that go to oil rigs. That's the thing.
So they need to be really clean. There needs to be no impurities.
Yeah, because you can't. If you're cleaning them and they're getting gold plated, they have to be completely clean. They can't get any oil, any things on them. There.
Okay, let's keep moving on. So we've got part washing, and then over here is it what is this area here?
This is where we check the concentricity of them pins I was on about. So when the pins come back from the customer, the plating, sorry.
We got a pin here.
When they come back from the post plating, we will check them 100% on that thing there.
So you put them between sensors on the plastic pins, pins here. You put that in there, You clock up.
Concentric to 3,000.
3,000?
3,000 concentric, yeah.
So that's across the whole length of
yes.
the part?
Yeah, basically.
Oh my God. That's amazing. Brilliant. Okay, so you've also got an old SA-20 here. We could talk about that. We could probably talk about what you guys do here at GA Sliding Head all day, but let's move on to the most important part. We talked a little bit about inspection, but let's go and have a look at your proper inspection department, see where they check all the parts are absolutely bang on. And here we come to the inspection department. Some would say probably the most important part of the machine shop, because if you don't know you're making good parts, then you definitely can't be sending them out to customers. And in the inspection department, there's lots of different specialist modern machinery. Now, Stuart, you run the inspection department here?
Yes, yes.
Brilliant. So why is it important to inspect parts?
It's very important. We've got to make sure the parts are exact to the drawing specification.
Brilliant. And do different customers require different inspection, I guess, how critical the inspection needs to be?
Yes, it does vary. Some customers have really tight tolerances, so we've got to make sure we machine inspect to the tolerances required as to the drawing.
What about batch inspection? Do you inspect every part, or do you inspect like one in 50? Are there different plans for different customers?
I guess it depends on the customer. The customer gives us the specification, well, the requirements. We've got to inspect to the sampling that the customer requires.
Okay, so they'll all require different sampling rates, not just one, maybe not one. Every part, it might be 1 in 50, it might be 1 in 100. Yep. When you inspect 1 in 50, 1 in 100, do you employ different methods? So obviously you can get micrometers, verniers, depth gauges. You've got some very different equipment here. Yeah. What kind of inspection is this equipment used for?
Yes, this is our brand new VICIVISION M306 Techno. It's automated, and the reason we bought it for is so we can inspect a lot more parts a lot more faster than using a standard shadowgraph.
So the shadowgraph here, this is also a brand new machine as well. You guys are obviously investing in the manual machine as well. Mm-hmm. What is the difference? What happens? Obviously, you have to put your part in the shadowgraph, but do you have to manually go and line up every single dimension? How does it work?
Yeah, this is fairly manual. It's pretty much set manually by the team member, whereas this is pretty much you just place the part between centres, and it's programmed, so it's just a matter of pressing the button and it inspects pretty much all the external dimensions on the part. Okay,
so I guess you have to write a program for this system, yes. But once you've written the program, is the inspection a lot quicker than on a shadowgraph?
A lot faster. It would take hours on the shadowgraph to measure the same amount of dimensions that we measure in pretty much minutes, seconds sometimes.
Okay, so since it's taking seconds rather than minutes or even 20 minutes, does that mean that you inspect more parts, or do you just get through that inspection package of parts quicker?
A lot quicker. Like I say, customers' sampling requirements are a lot more higher volume parts, so we may need to inspect 80, 100, 125 samples.
And that would take a long time on the shadowgraph.
Yeah, that would take a long time.
Let's move on to an OGP smart scope here. So now, what is this machine for?
This machine is very similar to the VICIVISION. It's a high magnification optical machine with touch probe. The difference obviously is it's a stage machine. So
what do you mean by stage?
Well, as you can see, it's a horizontal stage. So this pretty much replaces the shadowgraph.
Oh, you mean because something's sat flat on a stage? It's sat flat down on the bed.
Yes. So we could sit the part on here on V blocks or between centres, and we can check to I guess down to micrometers. It's plus or minus 1 mic.
And it's amazing, I guess you still need, even though you can invest in all this fancy equipment, all the specialist tech which speeds up inspection, you're still investing in shadowgraphs today.
Yes, it still does a job for us. Like I say, we've got quite a mix of equipment. This is obviously the equipment we use for high volume, and this shadowgraphs equipment for maybe, I guess, one-offs, lower volume parts.
Definitely. But you need the equipment for high volume parts when you're making, I think it's something like, I don't know, it was 100,000 parts a month you guys might be put out?
Yeah, it's thousands of parts we can make, yeah. So we need the automation to speed up the process.
Brilliant. So that's GA Sliding Head in Dundee. What a fantastic sliding head machine shop.